This is the 7th grade Language Arts Quarter 1 assessment. Directions. Answer the following questions 1 through 8 based on the story in the left column. Please read the passage. Now that you've read the passage, let's begin. Question number 1. What is the setting of the story? A. Key West, Florida, May 5th, 1888. B. Tuscumbia, Alabama, March 3, 1887. Everett, Washington, December 19, 1884. Or D. Tuscumbia, Alabama, April 3, 1886. Number 2. Who are the main characters? A. Helen Keller, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, and Mrs. Keller. B. Anne Mansfield Sullivan, Tony Eckenhart, and Tammy Bransfield. C. Helen Keller, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, and Mr. Keller. D. Karen Sullivan, Helen Sullivan, and Mr. Sullivan. Number 3. What is the conflict? A. Anne Mansfield Sullivan is a teacher for the deaf and the blind, but she cannot find employment. B. Historically, the Keller family has been well off and has not suffered a financial crisis until now. C. At 19 months old, Helen Keller contracted an illness which left her deaf and blind and therefore unable to communicate well. D. Helen Keller has a teacher, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, who has worked with many gifted and talented students, including Helen Keller. Number 4. According to Helen Keller, what did she say was the solution to her conflict? A. She was able to impress Anne Mansfield Sullivan. B. Something unusual was about to happen. C. I supposed to be my mother. D. I was like the ship before my education began. Number 5. There are 2 major complications that happen with Anne Mansfield Sullivan and Helen Keller. What is the first? A. Helen Keller is unable to distinguish the difference between a mug and a water. B. Helen Keller is unable to distinguish the difference between a mug and a doll. C. Helen Keller is unable to distinguish the difference between a mug and her teacher. D. Helen Keller is unable to distinguish the difference between a mug and her mother's touch. Number 6. What is the second complication? A. Anne Mansfield Sullivan is like the ship before education. B. Helen Keller is asking for light, but there is no light to give. C. Anne Mansfield Sullivan and Helen Keller are working well together. D. Helen smashes the doll to reveal that she is angry and not understanding. Number 7. What is the climax of the story? A. Helen Keller has pushed her teacher out the window because she hates English and everything was English related. B. It was impossible for Helen Keller to see it again and she really wanted to see. C. Helen Keller smashed the doll and she is outside and all hope is lost. D. The bear from the Revent crawls out of the trees and eats Helen Keller's teacher, but Helen is unable to tell if it is her teacher's or her mother. Number 8. What is the resolution? A. Helen Keller is unable to distinguish the difference between her teacher and her mother once again. B. Helen Keller is able to figure out the difference between a mug and a water by actually feeling running water. This is an important step in her learning to be able to communicate well. C. Helen Keller learns to spell water. Or D. Helen Keller learns manners, specifically not to throw her dolls and not to break them when she is mad. Now, please read the next passage so that we can answer questions 9 through 15. Question number 9. What does paragraph 2 tell us about Toby? A. He is careless but eager. B. He is hopeful and humble. C. He is clever and calculating. D. He is interested but untrusting. Number 10. What does the sentence below reveal about Toby? And then he appeared suddenly to see something wonderfully interesting behind him, which served in excuse to turn his reddening face away. A. He feels irritated. B. He is distracted. C. He feels embarrassed. D. He is no longer interested. Number 11. In paragraph 5, what does the phrase "wouldn't pay for the meal that one chicken would eat" tell the reader? A. Toby is too small to be expected to work. B. Toby does not pay for his meals. C. Toby's work produces minimal results. D. Toby feeds the chickens in return for food. Number 12. Based on paragraph 8, which can be inferred about Mr. Lord's intentions? A. He does not want to hire Toby. B. He wants to help Toby find fun work. C. He sees an opportunity to build a friendship. D. He sees Toby as a way to make money for himself. Number 13. What effect does the author create by including paragraphs 8 and 9? A. They show that Toby lacks confidence that there is really a job available. B. They contrast Toby's excitement with the way Mr. Lord looks down on Toby. C. They imply that Toby and Mr. Lord are both planning against each other as they chat. D. They clarify that Mr. Lord knows Toby would be an awful worker. 14. How do Mr. Lord's comments in paragraph 12 increase the suspense? A. Mr. Lord intends to offer the job to Toby in hopes that Toby will eat less while working. B. Mr. Lord is making fun of Toby for being fat, but Toby does not seem to understand that. Toby is only pretending to be interested in the job, and Mr. Lord is fooled by that. D. Toby has shown interest in the job offer, and Mr. Lord takes advantage of the moment. 15. Based on the last paragraph, which does Toby believe Mr. Lord will do next? A. Continue selling goods near Toby. B. Express his anger against Toby. C. Ask Toby to help find the boy. D. Present the job to Toby. Now please read the next passage so we can answer questions 16 to 18. Number 16. Which statement is a summary of the selection? A. A serious author writes a funny poem that his servant finds extremely humorous. B. An unskilled author writes an epic poem that his servant considers laughably bad. C. A light-hearted author writes a terrifying poem that keeps him awake at night. Or D. An excitable author writes a hilarious poem that he can't get published. Number 17. In line 28, what does the phrase "in a fit" mean? A. Falling downstairs. B. Having good health. C. Tearing a garment. Or D. Having a tantrum. 18. Which statement indicates the theme of this selection? A. Good writing sometimes goes unappreciated. B. Authors can be fearful of the reader's opinions. C. Writing cannot change opinions even if it's good. D. Writing can have a significant effect on its reader. That concludes the first quarter language arts assessment.